Welcome back. You're watching Siasa Fiesta, tail end of the program right now. We wanted just to continue apace with the conversation that we're having. Boni Khalwale, we wanted to comment on the housing.
Yes, I wanted to comment on the housing. Last week, I had a discussion with the president. Okay? And I had said that maybe this thing of housing, we should have allowed the people to do public participation more, be more moving into action. Then the president reminded me something I'd forgotten. He told me this thing of housing is not his brainchild per se. It's been there. They were pushing it with Uhuru. Uhuru wanted 1.5 from the employee, 1.5 from the workers. And Doctor reminded me, His Excellency, and I realized. Then I quickly went back and I discovered that Raila was actually supporting that housing initiative when the president spoke to it. The final point I want to make on housing is, where are we? We are in the community of nations. And UNESCO has told us, and they are not lying, that 30, 40 years from today, over 50% of world populations will live in urban centers. Kenya, 5 years ago, only 21% were living in urban centers. Today, UNESCO says 28.49% of Kenyans are living in urban centers, and it is growing. So if we don't support the president on this issue, it means we are going to turn all our premier urban centers, Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, name it, from towns or cities into urban slums. So you must do what they did in Hong Kong, you must do what they did in Singapore, Indonesia. They did forward thinking. I want you to Google, you Kenyan who is listening to me, stop being brainwashed. Go and Google the infrastructure of housing in Singapore 30 years ago. They were exactly like Kibera slums, Mukurukwanjenga, Madare slums. They were exactly like that. Go and Google, you Kenyan. But because the leadership did what President Ruto is doing today, and we are going to support him, because they did it, you go there, they're beautiful cities. The first thing that Kenyans do when they land in Hong Kong is to take beautiful photographs, not of the city itself.
Of Singapore.
No, not of the city of Singapore, of Hong Kong. I'm saying Hong Kong, for example. They don't take of Hong Kong itself. You land at the airport, and they have put huge wallpapers of how their city looks like. So when you stand there, you are like in the heart of Hong Kong. I see it, Kenyans take and they put on social media. Please, please, it takes leadership to move from the current slums to where those guys have taken their countries. At the cost of annoying Kikuyus, at the cost of annoying the Kisses, annoying the Somalis, who are at the forefront, and Kambas, who are at the forefront in doing business in this city. At the cost of annoying them, let me remind the lawyers and Luos who live in the slums in Kibra and Kawangware, who are blindly following Baba, that when this Kibra will be upgraded, the housing will be upgraded, the beneficiaries will not be Kikuyus. It will be them. So Baba wants them to continue living in those squalor conditions. When Kikuyus who participate in contributing to the economies of allowing the country to have new housing will not be competing for those houses in those slums for the reason that they are not there, I beg their pardon. If they want me to be a leader in my community, so that my community children can be coming from Kakamega, Bungoma, Vihiga, and Busia, and Kitale to come and land in Kibra, then I don't want to be a leader. I want to be a leader of children who come from poor conditions to better conditions to enjoy their education.
Right.
Please.
Tell me then, how will the tenants in Kibra, who maybe wants a unit of from this particular housing scheme gets...
How can you call those... How can you call Kibra that there is a symbiosis of a tenant and a landlord?
No.
A guy who builds you that makeshift mabati,
but there is,
power structure,
in the
and
level
he collects from you 5,000 shillings. Actually, I don't know how I would call that guy. How can he call himself a landlord?
But that is the arrangement as it is right now. That's what I'm
asking.
It's
a slum lord. Yes, that is the language.
No, because now this seems to be a tenant purchase scheme that also the government is trying to roll down with this housing scheme,
yes.
Especially. Yeah.
Yes.
But where will you get the initial deposit? So
exactly.
Where will you get this initial? Tell me that person in Kibra, where will they get the initial deposit to sink in almost $1 million for this particular unit?
Beautiful. It is because people have thought that the conversation on housing levy should run simultaneously with the conversation of taxation. Housing levy is not a tax, it's a saving. In fact, one of the mistakes we made is that the conversation started at the time of the finance bill. We should have, Mwaura, come clearly to the public with the amendment of the Housing Act and bring in this so that we drive it properly. It is being swallowed with the politics of taxation, which should not be the case. Simple. We have things that this economy is called PPPs. People are ready to go and build houses, but they don't, because the guys who want to build houses fear that you'll build the house, people will take the houses, but they will default on payments. The guys of PPP, the banks don't give them money because they fear that if you give them the money, the loan will become a bad loan. But through the levying, we shall have pooling of resources. So because resources have been pooled, the bank gives the developer, through PPP, the developer has confidence that the people who will move in will not default because they'll recoup their money from this pooled money. Now, how do people benefit? You don't benefit because you have saved 3 million, which is meant to afford you a house. You benefit because on the queue, we are going to create a queue. Because if you don't let people queue, again, the people who already have houses will become beneficiaries. So the people who are actually dwelling in the slums will queue for those houses. Whether you have saved 3 million or not, you'll get a house, and the 5,000 you have been paying every month for rent for a slum, you'll now be paying rent, and that rent will be offsetting the 3 million shillings. If you are...
But the initial deposit...
If you are over, say, 40 years, and by the time you are due for retirement, you have not cleared what you are paying every month, the house is not lost. It is inherited by your family. So we've thought it through. People are not listening to us because of the noise of Asmiu. They are sulking from losing election. Asmiu, move on.
Dr. Makali, yes. As we prepare our headline thoughts, your reaction.
I wish we had enough time to discuss this matter of housing levy.
But we've discussed it a whole 3 hours show.
We've discussed it many times. But you know, we're doing just general discussion. I wish we could have narrowed. But the truth of the matter is, there are lots of gaps in this housing levy. You can hear Honorable Khalwale saying is a saving. Even it's a saving, automatically should be voluntary. Automatically. You save when you decide to save. You don't save when you are dying of hunger. So to me, there are lots of issues of trust. Look at what has happened. Mombasa, we have constructed houses before you cross the Nyali Bridge. You know that area? Already, the other day, leaders were complaining that those houses...
Which area is that?
You know, before you get...
That Buxton.
It's called, Buxton.
The Buxton,
yeah. There were complaints from the leaders that even though now the houses are complete, the people who are occupying the house now are not the people who are displaced at the time of construction. So you know, all these things are there. Look at what happened to the Kibera, this other place which was upgraded. You get somebody from the slum, you give them that 2-bedroom house, instead of living there, they rent it out and go back to the slum. So to me, there are lots of gaps in this thing, and that's what I was saying. Honorable Khalwale, despite all what you are saying, theoretically, it makes a lot of sense. But I think even the legal framework to support this levy once the money is collected, people are asking, where will this money, which account will it go to? Is it consolidated fund? So that it goes through the eye of the Auditor General? or is it a separate fund? And we have seen today, is it the nation, where every president who has come in this country has created a fund. At the end of the day, we lose billions of shillings. So there are so many gaps which are all over the place. And that's what we are saying, how I wish we had more time so that we ask these questions, and maybe Maura and Khalwale would have helped Kenyans to answer them. The other day, a teacher called me and said, I've lived in my village since I was born. I've been paying the normal taxes. Now I'm about to retire. I've been told to contribute money to get a house in Nairobi. It's obvious I will not live in Nairobi. I'm about to retire. More likely. So for a teacher who has no intentions at all to come to Nairobi, even if he wanted because he's teaching in the rural setting, and you get this money, our money, how do they benefit? Another is saying, I'm only 3 years to retire. So 7 years I'm expected to get my money back. I'm free to retire. Even getting your own pension, which you have worked for years, is difficult. There are teachers who have retired. They have not been paid their pension for the last 5-6 years in this country. Getting that pension, you are telling them they will get this levy back to their pockets. These are the things. And we are saying, let's not rush this thing. Cost this housing levy, find out how much you are collecting from it, and if possible, think of an alternative. The 1.5 Khalwale is mentioning, it came to the House, we rejected it. Have you managed to look at why it was rejected? The same reasons we are raising today. That you want to bring a fund, create a fund, or you want to levy some fund like housing levy, and you have not told Kenyans, after you get the money as a government, how do we get this money utilized? How do we get this money oversighted? How do we get money this audited? So that at the end of the day, Kenyans are assured of getting value for money.
Thank you.
These things in the bar are still very grey. And that's why I was saying I wish we started with this so that we can ask the questions, and now the proponents of the housing levy would have helped us.
Thank you.
But up to now,
for next week.
I don't think any Kenyan now is convinced that this, and this is what actually, even thing, the thing which will make this bill fail, number one, is housing levy.
Thank you. We'll leave it at
Number
that.
2 will be VAT.
Thank you.
So if I were the president, this is an area I would say, gentlemen, I've been pushing for this thing, but I think I'm meeting a wall. Let's look back, sit back and review it.
Right, thank you. All right, we need to wind it at that. Thank you so much. I just give you 10-second closing remarks. Boni Khalwale, Isaac Maura, and Makali, 10 seconds. Closing remarks.
So difficult, huh? If you want to kill a dog, you start by giving a bad name. Look at the headline in The Nation. They are telling us the story of every president with his own fund. They have told us how 3.3, 4.6 for Kibaki and Uhuru were mismanaged, and some of that money was lost. And they are bringing in Ruto. Ruto's money is yet to be lost. So why give him the bad name? Why?
No,
it is not lost. The 9 billion is not lost at all.
All right.
It's not even spent.
All right, Isaac, your closing remarks?
I think to be very honest, let's be candid. If we need to develop this country, if we are serious about unemployment and making change, this is the time is now. We have the right president. He's well-meaning. He has a lot of foresight. Let us not sabotage his agenda. Let us engage meaningfully. I'm sure there is a solution, but we cannot fail every other time just because we are fearful of change.
Bakalimol.
The ban to me is public participation is a provision in the new constitution.
Yeah.
So we must listen to the voice of the public, even if we are leaders. We lead, but we must listen to the voice of the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boni Khalwale, I really appreciate.
Great.
Isaac Maura, thank you so much. Dr. Makali Mulu as well, I really appreciate. And of course, we're eagerly looking forward to hear from Azimio. Will they make a formal withdrawal now from the bipartisan talks? Because I think that was also one of the items that had been suggested that will be coming from this particular PG today. So we eagerly wait to see what will be panning out from there today, and we'll be faithfully relaying that to you as information comes to hand. My name is Dibala Nat. Thank you so much for your valued company. News Diary is up next.